Good afternoon, guys. Here we are back with today's video, where I'm going to be talking about what happens in the back half of Genesis chapter 45. Just to catch you up a little bit, yesterday we talked about Genesis chapter 45 verses 1 to 15, where we see that, Joseph reveals himself to his brothers. So now we get to see what happens after the brothers have figured out that this man that they've been talking to and taking orders from, and that they've ate with him in his palace, and that they've bought grain from him and brought that grain back to Canaan. They find out that man is the brother that they thought was surely dead at this point, and And if the brothers didn't think he was dead, Jacob surely did, because that's what the brothers let him believe for, was it 13 years? Yeah. So now, we get to see what happens after the big reveal. So here we go. We start in verse 16. This part of the chapter is subtitled Pharaoh Invites Jacob to Egypt. The news soon reached Pharaoh's palace. Joseph's brothers have arrived. Pharaoh and his officials were all delighted to hear this. Pharaoh said to Joseph, "Tell your brothers this is what you must do. Load your pack animals and hurry back to the land of Canaan. Then get your father and all of your families and return here to me. I will give you the very best land in Egypt, and you will eat from the best that the land produces." Then Pharaoh said to Joseph, "Tell your brothers, take wagons from the land of Egypt to carry your little children and your wives, and bring your father here. Don't worry about your personal belongings, for the best of all the land of Egypt is yours." So the sons of Jacob did as they were told. Joseph provided them with wagons as Pharaoh had commanded, and he gave them supplies for the journey. And he gave each of them new clothes. But to Benjamin he gave 5 changes of clothes and 300 pieces of silver. He also sent his father 10 male donkeys loaded with the finest products of Egypt, and 10 female donkeys loaded with grains and bread, and the other supplies he would need on his journey. So Joseph sent his brothers off, and as they left, he called after them, "Don't quarrel about all this along the way." And they left Egypt and returned to their father Jacob in the land of Canaan. Joseph Joseph is alive, they told him, and he is the governor of all the land of Egypt. Jacob was stunned at the news. He couldn't believe it. But when they repeated to Jacob everything Joseph had told them, and when he saw the wagons Joseph had sent to carry him, their father's spirit revived. Then Jacob exclaimed, "It must be true. My son Joseph is alive. I must go and see him before I die." Man, so, I think this is the best part of Joseph's story. To go from the annoying little brother, to being a slave of Egypt, to being a prisoner of Egypt, in more ways than one. You're a slave and then you're thrown into an actual prison for an accusation that is unfounded, to become the governor of a land and therefore the savior of a land during a famine. All that is great, and Joseph did all of that with the help of the Lord, right? But I think this right here, what we're about to see, Jacob and Joseph are about to be reunited after 13 years, I believe it is. 12 or 13 years, I believe it's 13. And, I think that's the biggest blessing in which both Jacob and Joseph can receive. And what is so great about it is that while God is allowing it to happen, finally after 13 years, if you really look at how God was able to orchestrate all of it, God did two things. Well, no, he did, he did two things. One, he put Joseph in a position where not only does he understand the people of Egypt because he's been a slave and he's been a prisoner, and now he's the savior of the land for 7 years, but he's also on the same side of that same token, has allowed Joseph to be the one that, even when the brothers were jealous of Joseph and wanted to get rid of him and all of that, he allows Joseph to be the one to sit back and say, even though you've done all that to me, it was because it was God's plan, and therefore I am to make sure that you, my family, my father, my brothers' families survive this famine. So not only is he saving a whole nation of Egypt, but he's also saving the family, the brothers that discarded him for 13 years. Right? And now, the best part of it is what we're about to see going into chapter 46 tomorrow, is that God reunites father and son. He reunites Jacob and Joseph after 13 years of separation. And, I'll read it. It'll say it, in the next chapter, I'm sure. But I believe, it's so at the point that Jacob is going to Egypt to reunite with Joseph, Jacob is already 130 years old, right? And Jacob, we'll see later, but Jacob passes away at 147. Now, if you do the math, and this is the interesting part, most interesting to me at least, is that Jacob lost Joseph when Joseph was 17, right? And now Jacob is going to die at 147, which means, and right now Jacob is 130, which means when he gets to Egypt, God is giving him back 17 years that, of time, so that he has time to make up for the 13 years plus that Jacob and Joseph were robbed of all those years ago. And so that's the amazing thing to me. And, sorry about that. And, like I said, I just think that's amazing. And we'll go on to read, as we read on, we'll see all of that. But I think here it teaches me never to give up hope, because as long as we believe in God, miracles can and will happen. It's just they won't happen on our timeline, because our timeline and God's timeline are so drastically different, right? I heard a friend of mine say it one time that 100 years to us is nothing but 1 minute to him. That's how drastically different our timetable, our timeline is to his. And so when we want to see a blessing, I heard it said also one time that God will throw us these little blessings, right? He'll give us these little snippets of the bigger blessing, right? And those little snippets, those little crumbs of bread or cookie crumbs, whatever you want to call it, those are just stepping stones to the bigger blessing. Those are the things that are getting us ready for the bigger blessing. But don't miss how wonderful the little blessings can be in your life. And I'm not saying that I'm perfect. I've had moments where I've sat there and talked to God and said, "Hey God, come on! If you're gonna bless me now." I I'm no longer willing to wait patiently for the blessing. I want it now. And so I want you to remember that that's what the world does to us, man. We live in what I like to call, and I think a lot of people call, the microwave society, which means when we want something, we want it now, right? Think about it like this: Have you ever, when we were young kids, and you know, maybe you tell your mom or your dad, "Hey, I want this new toy," or for me it was video games. So go to my mom. "Hey, mom, I want the new PlayStation," and my mom would say, "Okay, maybe we can get it for your birthday," but my birthday was 2 or 3 months away, and I'd be like, "Mom, I want that. I want it now." And I'm gonna tell you, the more time I begged my mom to get me something right then and there, the longer she made me wait for it, right? Remember one time, I think I wanted, I don't know, I wanted some game, right? And, the game looked really cool. I was maybe 7, 8 years old, maybe 6. I think it was the next Zelda game after Ocarina of Time, if I'm not mistaken. But it was some game that I wanted, and it looked really good. And you know what? I went to my mom, and I knew like my birthday was coming up or whatever in a few months. And I said, "Hey, mom, maybe for I want this game. Like this game looks really cool, and I want to get it. Could you get it for me?" And my mom looked at me, and I showed her the commercial for the game, right? And it was on it had to be on the 64, the Nintendo 64, I believe. And I know, guys, I'm showing my age, but anyway, and she goes, "You know what? You can have the game, but you're gonna have to wait because you don't have the money right now." And I could have been like, "Okay, mom, that's fine." But no, what did I do? "Mom, all my friends are getting the game. I think the game was supposed to come out in the next few weeks at that point. And all my friends had told me, 'Oh, we're getting the game, you should get it too, so we can all play.'" So I was like, "Hey, Mom, all my friends are gonna get it. And by the time I get it, it's gonna be old news." I started doing that whole bit. And I remember the game was supposed to come out, and she was like, "We'll get it. Okay, we'll get it for your birthday." "Mom, I want it now. By the time my birthday comes around, all my friends are gonna tell me about the game, and then I'm not gonna want to play it because I'm gonna know about the game, right?" And I kept bugging her for days, weeks, and finally, she told me, she goes, "If you don't stop asking me about this game, you're gonna," she said, "if you get it, you're gonna get it for Christmas. And, there's a lot of time between my birthday and Christmas. So, at that point, that's when I realized, is like, I need to stop being so needy. And, that's what God does with us is, I said all that to bring it back and say, that's what God does with us is, we want the blessing now, and God says, you'll get it, but you'll get it when I'm ready to give it. And so, or when I think you're ready for me to give it. Right? When I know that you're ready, when I know that you're prepared for that. Because one thing I've learned in my, 6 years of following God is that a lot of times, so probably 95% of the time, God doesn't give you the big blessing because you're not prepared for it. So the little blessings are what is supposed to prepare you for said bigger blessing. And so I just want to remind people that, and I want this part of the story to remind people that all the little blessings that you get in life, they pay off. But they're going to pay off when He's ready for them to pay off. Right? God knew that He was going to reunite father and son before Jacob died. But God had to prepare Joseph for that moment. And now he's about to get that moment. He's about to get that big blessing in the form of getting to see his father for the next 17 years before his father dies. Anyway, sorry I went all over the place on a little tangent today. But, yeah, that's the end of chapter 45, guys. And if you like what you hear, what you see with this, please like, subscribe, comment, share, do all the YouTube things. And again, if you think this is that you know somebody who can get something out of these videos, share it with them. Because we all need a little of encouragement. And I think, I've been thinking on this, and I think being an encouraging light for people is the reason that God put it in my heart to start doing these videos, and to be consistent with them. And I know I haven't always been consistent. There's been a few times I haven't got a video out, but I'm trying to be more consistent. So anyway, I plan on posting at least the first half of chapter 46 tomorrow. And have a great day, guys. Bye.